Fu Panda 1s to 3, Changeling. Chang, getting paid over here. Changling, and many. Hello, lovers, and welcome back to another episode of Starring Cupid, starring me. It is your boy, Zamadadix, nothing more, nothing less, from the east, not the west, no worries, no stress. We're taking a break from romance as a genre altogether. Well, not altogether. Taking a break from like the rom-coms, the major rom-coms we've been discussing so far, to talk about a unique cross-section where romance and action meet, kind of like a stop at the cross-section between Romance Avenue and Action Street, if that's what sounds right to you viewers. When I've spoken about action movies before, they weren't really looking at the romance. I think I said this in Scott Pilgrim episode. Yeah, we're all aware that when action movies have love in it, they're not really trying to sell us a love story here. So, what better couple to look at when I'm discussing action movies and their relation to romance? What better couple to look at than the deadly Jane Smith and the wonderful John Smith from Mr. and Mrs. Smith? This came out in 2007, so I was pretty young when I first watched this. I probably on SAPC 1, 2. I don't recall watching this on the movie channels. And guys, this movie, if you're a person that follows me online, I'm constantly crediting this movie for being one of those movies that kind of ignited my sexual awakening, because you can understand why, and I'm going to elaborate on why later. But yeah, I enjoyed this film when I first saw it, and every time when I see it, they take a fairly cliche concept and they sprinkle a bit of marriage and marital problems onto it, and it shouldn't work. It shouldn't have worked, and yet here we are dedicating an entire episode to them. So if you're a little skeptical about this because maybe you don't like the movie, or maybe you don't see what I see about these two, wait until the end. I can convince you that this movie is secretly good if you give me a chance. Let's not waste any more time. This is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. This movie was directed by Doug Liman in 2007. Personally, as a person that has never tried to frame herself as a cinephile more than just an enthusiast, personally, I didn't know anything about Liman before this, like nothing new, but he has done some serious work. He's directed American Made, Edge of Tomorrow, Jumper, and The Bourne Identity, to name a few. Lovers, I've only seen one of these. I will not embarrass myself by telling you which one. I will, though, say that this man, clearly, he has a thing, a talent, one would call, for this type of stuff. He clearly likes the action genre a lot, and if it's working for him, that's great. He did all right in this one. I can't comment on the others, but he did okay with this one. The screenplay was done by Simon Kinberg. He's responsible for so much, it was hard for me to summarize it for this episode. He's worked on like four X-Men movies. Jumper, which Lindman worked on as well. Sherlock Holmes, the Guy Ritchie one that I was surprisingly discussing very heavily on the last episode. He did This Means War, which is another hybrid of romance and action. And recently he wrote the newest Fantastic Four. Yeah. That's a wide range of bad and good films. So that's him. That's Simon Kinberg for you. It's hard to judge him on all of these movies because some of them, not great. There's not much in the dialogue for this specific film that makes it different from all the other action movies that I've seen. He made them sound like they hated each other when they were talking about their marriage, and maybe they did, but damn guys, how bad is marriage to y'all? Like every single time there's a married couple in these movies, they hate each other. I don't know. Maybe I'm just picky. Maybe I'm expecting a lot. There's a lot of action sequences in this movie, which means there's a lot of stunt work, and I particularly like stunt work. I think it's really cool when people fight. When you say it like that, it sounds like I'm a violent person, but that's not what I mean. I appreciate good fights. There are about 158 people in the stunts department for this one, and one of my favorite action sequences, is the fight they have in the kitchen. That whole scene, there was a lot of moving parts there, a lot of things were happening, a lot of things were exploding and guns going off, and I like it because I couldn't see the choreography of the fight. Obviously we know that actors are taught where to punch and where to kick and sometimes it feels like you can see that the other person is waiting for that choreographed kick, that choreographed punch. I'm tapping my hands as I'm going, like you guys can see me. I'll stop. And sometimes we can clearly see the choreography, and I don't feel like I saw it here. It felt like they were really into it. The pacing was good. It made it a bit realer, and I really did enjoy that. Shout out to the team behind that. Well done. On to our cast. Lovers, I gotta take a moment because we have one of the most paying women on this planet. The woman, the myth, the legend, Miss Angelina Jolie. She stars as Jane Smith in this film. Miss Jolie, she's got a resume like a cotton on label. She has been in Lara Croft, Salt, Maleficent, Maleficent 2, Kung Fu Panda 1 to 3, Changeling, getting paid over here, Changeling, and many more. One of my personal favorites of hers is her in Wanted. The action sequences with her and that red car when she's trying to save James McAvoy's character. Top movie, that one. I love it. I love her. This woman has been hot since I was small. She was always the bum diggity. She always had the bum diggity. Her acting is perfect for the action genre. She's the type of person that action movies want and go for, but I do know that outside of this genre she can also act. So personally, I will bow down at her feet and I will sing her praises every day, and no one can stop me. I love this woman. Then we have Brad Pitt as John Smith, another person that has been hot for most of my life. I will admit, I wasn't fully into it at first. Not in like a, oh, he was ugly kind of way, but in a way that I didn't like being into the blonde boy with blue eyes kind of thing. It felt very cliche of me if I was into people that are just like meant to be I was meant to be into, you know what I mean? But as time has gone by, as I have grown, he has grown on me. Guys, Brad Pitt nowadays, respectfully, I'm saying all of this with utter respect. Respectfully, I am looking. He's another frequently employed actor. He is known for his work in Oceans 11 to 13, Inglorious Bastards, Seven, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Fight Club, and many more. It's funny that you look at the movies that I just listed, and then if you had to ask me, oh Zama, what's your favorite movie with Brad Pitt in it? My personal favorite has to be him in Megamind. I'm sorry. It has to be him in Megamind. Completely outside of what people are used to getting from him. And I love it. I like it for him because Metro Man is... He's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm glad that Brad Pitt is behind a character like that. So, these are both, one would say, seasoned actors. They also happen to be beautiful individuals. Now, can you clearly see why this movie was my bisexual awakening? Honorable mentions. I have to begin with Vince Vaughn, who plays Eddie in this movie. Yeah, he's the best friend that men have, that their girlfriends are like wary of. That best friend where your girl likes him, but by God, if he's not the most annoying man in your circle, he's troublesome and he's just super influential on John. I mean, I guess it would work for something else, because in here it felt like I was watching yet another film with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, but Owen wasn't there, and it was just him and John. I don't know how I feel about Eddie. I'll say that. I don't know how I feel about Eddie. He was funny though. Then we have Kerry Washington, who is also here, and I forget every single time that she's in this film, and she plays Jasmine. Jasmine is supposed to be Jane's close friend in the same way, almost mirroring the relationship that John has with Vince Vaughn's character. That's what Kerry Washington was meant to be to Jane. And I don't feel it. It doesn't feel the same. I don't think that these two best friend characters were given the same opportunities or like screen time. I know way too much about Vaughn, and I know barely anything about Carrie's character in this movie. Once again, female friendships are being given absolutely nothing to show that these two people are friends. It's boring. It's absolutely boring. And last but not least, I wanted to mention Adam Brody here because he's just adorable. He's so cute in this movie. He's just very cute. He comes on, he does what he has to do, and then they do what they do to him. But the whole time, he's just cute. If you have never seen this film, don't rush to watch it. I know what I've been saying at the beginning, like I've been hyping this film a lot, and it is cool. Like it's a good, cool action movie, and you will like it if action is your cup of tea. It's just not worth stopping your activities for to like watch it. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the best way I can explain to you why it's not one of those films. You watch it, but you don't drop everything you have to do today to watch it. If you simply do not recall what happens, here is a summary. A bored married couple are shocked to discover that they're spies from competing firms. They're assigned to eliminate each other or put their own lives at risk. Listen, this is a concept. I really like this concept. I'd advise watching it first before you listen, not because my spoilers will ruin your viewing experience, but because it will improve your listening experience. Sometimes the movie just helps you enjoy this better. Sometimes the movie is merely the seasoning for what you're about to hear. I'm absolutely joking. I am the seasoning. I could never be the main course. You should watch the film before you come here, please. I'll be making a lot of references to the material as I have to, so it helps. Onwards and upwards, time waits for no man. Let's get into it. This is The Smiths. Usually, when I've done married couples in the past on this show, the couples themselves are pretty content with themselves and their relationship. Okay, wait. Aside from the Abbots in A Quiet Place, they were content, yeah, sure, with their marriage, but they were suffering. They were going through a lot. The thing that I like about couples that are married or like already officially together in movies and TV shows is there's not a lot of time wasted on building that foundation that we're after. They're married or they're together because they already like/love each other. There's not more that this film is trying to convince us of. These two, they have a foundation of sorts. I say of sorts because it's not real. It's kind of invalidated later on. When we're introduced to them in the very beginning, we understand that these two people, they definitely have a connection from the jump. They get along really well. They don't waste any time. They get together fast and they get hitched and almost immediately after meeting. So we can kind of guess that, okay, no, these people, they're really into each other. We don't know why or even how. We're just made to understand that they have this mutual, unexplainable, fiery thing going on. That's one of the major downsides of action films. Besides them, it's one of those things that make me say that they don't like to focus on the romance that they create, because as action films, I guess they feel like they don't have to answer these questions, these how and why and what. They come here to give us the action, they give us the physical part of everything, or they simply do not want to answer these questions. I don't know, but this is an action movie. It's what we signed up for. It's hard to expect more of them. This movie begins when that fire, that mutual fire that I was talking about, when the fire dies down and we're left with what we see. And what we see is this kind of really sad, unbothered couple that's stuck in what seems like a loop. They get home, they wake up, they go to work, whatever that work may entail. They come home to each other, they have supper, and I guess they sleep. It's just like a day-to-day schedule that they have for themselves, no longer that fiery, very quick, very instant thing we saw. they essentially function. They just function together. Maybe they don't hate each other. Okay, wait, there's a part where John is in therapy and he's openly saying that he wants to kill her from time to time. But yeah, no, hate. I don't think they hate each other, but it's definitely nothing's the same now. Things are very cold and very icy now. That's like a huge contrast to the pair that we meet when in the very beginning, that couple that just set it off immediately. That comparison is important for us viewers and audience, because I feel like this shit happens all the time to like couples in real life. Like we kind of forget to mention that sometimes things die down in relationships. Most most films or TV shows deal with it in two ways. The people break up, or they try again. And in this movie, they are trying. They're seemingly trying to work on it. There's a lot of clips that they'll add of them from their therapy sessions where they're openly talking about their problems. Not maybe in the greatest detail possible, but you can see that there's that attempt, there's that trying to salvage what they have, and that's always a good sign. We should willingness to fix things is a nice first step to actually fixing things. However, we don't fix things through therapy in this one, because we as audience, we know something that these two don't. It's the plot secret that's like keeping the movie afloat for the first 20 minutes. And I feel like it gives us a little hope. The secret being that they're both spies. I think it gives us a little hope as viewers, because when I watched it, maybe, okay, not the first time, but one of the few times that I've seen it, I genuinely thought that, okay, maybe when they both confess to each other about what they're actually doing in their lives, then everything would be fine. Like maybe they'd bond over it. Maybe they'd be like, oh, you kill people too? Aight. Amazing. They'd assassinate some dude at noon, and then they'd catch supper together at 5. Carry on living. Not this film. They got mad is an understatement, but they got mad. Understandably so. Imagine this. You meet this person who feels like the love of your life. You hit it off. You get together, and now it's a few years down the line. I think I feel like John Smith now, because I can't remember how long they've been together. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 5 years. And then Jane corrected him. But 5 years is as much as I can remember. So yeah, years down the line, boom, you're married to the cover version of this person who has this whole life, this whole spy life that you didn't know about. You're bound to be shook. Like, regardless of the kind of person you are bound to be shook by that. And there's lots of movies that are good examples of people discovering things like this and just not coping. Side note, lovers, if you can possibly avoid it, do not watch a film called The Killers. I cannot take back the hour and a half I gave that movie, and I regret it every time I see the poster on Netflix. Yo, guys, don't do that. Back to the episode at hand. In this movie, the unique difference, the thing that makes it different from all these other I just found out my husband's a spy. The thing that makes it different from movies like that is they're both finding out at the same time, because they're both spies. So they're both kind of having this reaction, this huge discovery happen at the same time. Betrayal and like lying aside, this was good for them. I think it was good for them. You're as a person, you're not gonna have fun pretending to be someone you're not, in like your social life, in your personal life, in your love life. The act will get tired, and it will show in the way that you interact with people, more in the people that you love. But it will get tiring, it will get too much. Something's gonna happen with this one, with this couple. Now that the secret was out, there was nothing stopping them from being themselves. Like, this was the main problem in their marriage. They were feeling like they weren't married to the same person that they knew when they met them. You know what I mean? And now they knew why. Now they had all. I naively thought that now that they had all the answers to their questions, things would be going great. If they weren't being hunted down by their bosses and colleagues, this movie would have been wonderful, because we would have seen how they begin to fall in love all over again with these seemingly new versions of themselves. Or, okay, not new, I guess these more honest, more open versions of themselves. We don't get that. But what we do get is a wonderful sequence of them working together as a unit. There was obviously like the conflict here and there in the beginning, when they were still shook, when they were still feeling betrayed and lied to. But I think that's just how they were as characters. I think it was the perfect reaction from the characters that we had. But what was present now was enthusiasm. Enthusiastic lovers or partners that wanted to survive, but more importantly, they wanted to survive together. This is the perfect moment to have one of those sound buttons that makes things go like, because this is, I mean, it's dangerous, but it is still like a little heartwarming and a little heartfelt. I like how they watch out for one another once they team up. The teamwork and the love was there. There's looks of concern and like longing and little moments of affection mid-mission, and I think that was really cute. If you take away all the action that's happening, the gunslinging, the running away, all that stuff, if you strip it away, this feels like those films where a couple has to overcome something like life-shaking or something huge in order for them to fall back in love or reignite what was once lost. Ooh, bars. I need to write that down. Anyway, sorry. Got distracted. Yeah. So usually films like that, movies like that, it's very light-hearted. It's very kind of from like that romantic light. And okay, fine. This was kind of light-hearted. There were like moments of like giggling or like moments of like, oh, this is cute. And I like that they tackled this concept in this specific way. Yes, it was action. Yes, it was mostly about spying. And yes, there was more fighting than making up. But I still like the way they went about it. I've said this before, and I wish to reiterate it. For any newcomers, welcome lovers. Action movies can be about romance and love and still fulfill the criteria of what makes a good action movie. Not every attempt will be perfect. And I'm not even saying that this specific movie or this attempt was perfect either. But I feel like filmmakers must at least try. Just try. Because now we have a married couple that experienced a normal love story, in the sense that the problems and the things that they dealt with marriage-wise were very normal. But it also incorporates these elements of movies about espionage, action movies that have these sequences and these moments where you think, oh my gosh, these people are not gonna make it out of there. They've kind of married the two. Oh wow, they married the two genres. Bam. Personally, I believe that these two, they gave us a good full circle moment when it comes to what marriage can be like for some people. It was nice to see that depicted from the perspective of, I guess, espionage. Does that make this movie better? Yes and no. Like I said, it's not perfect. They're not perfect. But for what they do and for what they achieve, I think it's safe to say that it does do this job pretty well. Likes and dislikes time. I haven't seen this movie in like a couple of weeks. I think the last time I saw it was August. It has to be August. It can't be any later or earlier. So I'm a little rusty. My memory is a little bit off, but I think I have enough material for this segment. So let's get into the likes. This is an unnecessary note, but I really liked the set design of their home. It is, yeah, it's a nice house. Not to be that girl, but I remember in drama they taught us that in plays, the way a room is decorated or set out, it says a lot about the people that live. It can say a lot about the people that live in that space. For this film, I feel like it's quite true, because their home, it was quite modern, and it was like bougie, and it just looked functional. It felt like a dollhouse. You know those houses where you look around and you're just like, there's no way real people live here. That's the kind of dollhouse it was. I like this because it kind of further paints the picture of this normal American couple that we get in these movies, and then it's ironic because of the two people that live inside this house are far from the normal, far from the what we would expect, and then it ends up getting blown up, which is a lovely metaphor. I liked the moments of humor in here. Some jokes landed better than others, but I'm glad that they didn't try to make this one of those action movies where it's like a joke a minute, where it's like a whole stand-up special of jokes. I only dislike that because the people that they get to deliver these jokes are usually not doing a great job. So I'd rather they keep it at this amount. This was like the right amount of funny stuff, you know what I mean? Vince Vaughn nearly tipped the scales though with all his little jabs, but we still got them in like this safe amount of jokes. I liked the big fight scene for many reasons. It's very elaborate and they draw it out. Like it starts at the restaurant and it makes its way all the way back to their house. It's great. There's a moment where I think that they could do this for hours and hours on end, and like, when is this fight going to stop? Like, are they just gonna get too tired and then like fall asleep and then wake up and fight each other again? The stunts weren't too flashy. They didn't try to like just shoot each other out. Like they tried other practical ways to get rid of each other. I like that. It's good old fashioned fighting. Fist here, a kick here. It's really good, clean stuff. Yeah. Dislikes. I briefly mentioned how I didn't like how little screen time Kerry Washington got. I will repeat it again. If you're going to write someone in as the best friend, please give them dialogue to prove it, actions to prove it, just anything to prove it. Thank you in advance. I disliked the ending. it was completely unclear how they made it out of there. Like, yes, they're capable of shooting down everyone that came into that store, or anyone that showed up after them, or anybody that came after them was surely going to fail. They were quite a tight team. But don't let me assume that. Show me. Like, show me. They wasted a lot of time showing us Fawn and how he was such a funny guy, but they can't spare an extra 10 minutes to show us how the Smiths made it out alive, or even confirm that they made it out alive. Confirm that this was a happy ending in another way. The mystery is not working. It's not doing what you think it's doing. It feels open-ended. In fact, I think I dislike the way the story flows. It feels like they put a lot of focus on weird things half the time, and then because they spent that time focusing on these weird things, the things that happen later on, the future events, they feel kind of hollow, or like they feel incomplete. No, they did something weird there. I guess I'm asking a lot from an action movie that's purely here to just show off these like two attractive people. I'll take what I've been given because clearly I enjoyed it, but that doesn't mean that I expect less of the creatives behind things like this. We want you to do the work. We want you to complete the story. Don't leave us kind of like hanging. This is completely an attack on my personal work ethic and my personal work, but I had to say it. We have reached the end of the show, and it's back to that time again where we do Who's Your Fave? We are still following the theme of espionage couples. I wanted to use a James Bond couple because he's kind of like the king of cinematic espionage, but he's an entire bachelor throughout. It's his whole brand. So we have to ignore him completely. And we had to find some new contenders, and they're here. In this corner, from an iconic trilogy that was a large part of Zama's childhood, it's Ingrid and Gregorio Cortez from Spy Kids. All of the Spy Kids. In the other corner, from the awkwardly titled rom-com, it's Jen and Spencer Ames from The Killers. Every week I come on here and I assure you, the viewers, the listeners, the lovers, that your votes on this battle, they crown a winner. They have the power to decide, and I mean it. This week, I wish to remind you that one of these movies got a 10% rating, and it was a generous score. Do with that information what you will, and vote your little hearts out. Let your brains and your minds and your hearts decide who deserves this crown, even though we know who deserves it. For now, your resident romantic is signing out. We shall meet again on a different day, for a different episode, for a different couple. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely, wonderful week. I love and cherish you guys so much. Bye.